Heavenly stems and earthly branches are two sets of signs in a certain sequence, which were created as early as about 2700 BC by ancient Chinese ancestors to calculate the history and record the chronological sequence of events. The earthly branch is presented by the Chinese zodiac of the 12 animal signs. Here is a summary of the 12 earthly branch information. The earthly branches can be used to calculate years, months, and hours. When counting years, people use them with the 12 Chinese zodiac, and strictly one earthly branch corresponds to one fixed zodiac. For example, our ancestors have divided a day and night into 12 sections and named each as a 时辰, which is equal to today's 2 hours and has a fixed earthly branch name. From 11 p.m. at night to 1 a.m. is decided to be the first one, 子时, then the second 2 hours, 丑时, on the analogy of days. There isn't much relationship between the heavenly stems other than their combinations which form the hour, day, month, year based on the 60 jiazhi or 60 pillars. Earthly branches, however, have a much more complicated relationship with each other. Altogether, there are 5 types of relationships between the earthly branches. They are combination, clash, harm, punishment, and destruction. Combination appears when 2 earthly branches form a pair as shown here. If a pair exists inside your BaZi chart, it denotes some form of a workable relationship between the aspects governed by the relative pillars. However, there are pros and cons to combinations. Combinations indicate good relationships and ease of working with one another. However, it can also restrict the combined earthly branches from interacting with other earthly branches. Combination can happen within your natal chart, between your natal chart and your luck pillar or major destiny trends, between your natal chart and your current year pillar, or between your luck pillar and the current year pillar. The combinations can also produce a new element as shown in the chart. The earthly branches tree combination appears when 3 earthly branches form a union resulting in an elemental group. There are 4 such possible combinations as shown here. It is also possible for any 2 earthly branches within the group to combine and form a half combination. The earthly branches tree combination denotes amplification of the elements it forms, and as such, the aspects in your chart that are represented by the element will be amplified as well. The 3 directional combinations are essential the groupings of animal signs according to the season in the study of BaZi as shown in the chart. The directional combination is the strongest combination as it produces stronger elements and covers an entire season. However, to discern if the elements produced will be useful depends largely on whether your chart lists the resultant elements. As a general rule, all 3 animals signs must appear in order to form a complete combination. When there is a complete tree harmony or directional combination, the element associated with the combination is very strong, much stronger than the elements produced by the 6 combinations that is mentioned earlier. Between the 2 of the 3 combinations, the 3 directional combination produces a stronger resultant element as the entire season is present. Although a complete 3 harmony or direction combination also indicates that a person has good networking, the 3 harmony combination is particularly good for connections. Typically, a chart with a three harmony combination is indicative of a great achiever who is able to make use of and leverage upon his or her connections with people, regardless of whether the elements associated with the combination is favorable or not. Of course, a chart with a favorable three harmony combination is better than one with an unfavorable combination. When it comes to the three-directional combination, we have to evaluate if the resultant element is favorable or not to a chart to determine the effect of such a combination. The earthly branches 6 clashes indicates opposition between the earthly branches. When a clash appears in your chart, it means that there is an opposition between the elements. Clashes can denote antagonistic relationship between the aspects of the pillars involved in the clash. This is because the earthly branches represent timing and are the core as well as the roots of a particular phenomenon, scenario, or person. As such, any reaction of the earthly branches is generally more serious and has deeper implications. The earthly branch relationships affect a person's emotions, thinking, feelings, and also represents internal organs. Therefore, any positive BaZi relationship that affects the earthly branches results in a much stronger and long-lasting effect on the person, since the changes are from the roots and actual foundation of a person. Similarly, if the relationship is a negative one, the results are more detrimental in the long run. Furthermore, we have to analyze and understand what is harm and clash. While both harms and clashes generally involve countering discomfort and some measure of pain during the time of occurrence, a harm relationship produces more unpleasantness and emotional pain as it denotes an unexpected occurrence and unanticipated betrayal or stab in the back. Thus, a harm relationship usually has an effect on one's emotions and thinking. It is psychological hurt. Whereas in a clash, one can usually see the change or anticipate the area in life which is affected, as a clash is a direct antagonistic relationship between two earthly branches. Additionally, a punishment relationship should be observed. A punishment relationship between two earthly branches is basically a cause and effect relationship. This is essentially the actions taken or not taken by an individual that causes a certain outcome. The initiator is the BaZi owner himself or herself. The actions could be one's own behavior, thinking patterns, and even desires. While it may appear that others are at fault, when a punishment relationship is involved, the effect always centers around the person who is experiencing the punishment himself or herself. As such, a punishment generally has a negative effect. A full punishment usually involves a relationship between three earthly branches. When only two of the relevant three earthly branches are present, the effects are weak until the point when the third relevant earthly branch appears in the luck or annual pillars. This is similar to full tree combinations. The effect of the combination when only two of the three earthly branches are present is weak, at least until the third branch is present. Bear in mind that a punishment can happen at the same time with a combination or clash. There are 4 types of punishment. The first, called the ungrateful punishment, marked with a black arrow as shown. Second type is called the bullying punishment, the one marked with blue arrow. Third type is uncivilized punishment, marked with red arrow. And the fourth type, self-punishment, marked with green circle. Essentially, the ungrateful and bullying punishments involve 3 earthly branches for each formation, while the uncivilized and self-punishments involve only 2 earthly branches. Each punishment is a manifestation of a cause and effect situation and has a sort of karmic price tag associated, so to speak. A punishment effect is felt when one experiences a particular negative outcome due to his or her own actions or even inactions. An ungrateful punishment causes one to feel betrayed. When help or assistance is rendered to this person, he or she always feels that there's a hidden agenda or a lack of trust. Additionally, the person also frequently feels shortchanged by others, and that others do not reciprocate his or her help and assistance. As a result, he or she is discontented and company views life as being unfair. A full ungrateful punishment formation can also cause estranged ties with family members. Relationships with parents, siblings, or half siblings can often be problematic as there is always a lack of gratitude for what one already has. As the grass is always greener elsewhere, the person experiencing this punishment always experiences betrayal as they tend to attract situations that reinforce this feeling. A positive way to take active control of an ungrateful punishment is by practicing unconditional generosity. Since most of the time we tend to attach some sort of condition when we render help, whether we admit it or not, it is especially crucial to practice and acknowledge unconditional generosity when we offer help or assistance. This is important if an ungrateful punishment is in one's chart. In a bullying punishment, the person affected finds him or herself being bullied or stuck in a helpless situation, often without any sort of leverage. For example, let's look at a situation of a husband and wife divorcing. The man leaves the woman with nothing as she did not work or have a career while married. In addition, he makes use of his contacts and connection to ensure she does not get a single cent from divorce, hence bullying her. Another example would be when a big company takes over a small company, leaving the small company with no choice to fight back. A bullying punishment is unpleasant because it leaves one with no power or authority to retaliate by virtue of being in a disadvantaged position. In a legal case, a bullying punishment can manifest as not being able to do anything due to the law not being on one's side. An uncivilized punishment is brought on due to overwhelming desires or disloyalty to someone or party. This could be a situation when one's overwhelming desires and strive for excellence cause the person to step over other people or to go against those have given help earlier on. For instance, as the rats and rabbits are peach blossom stars, the uncivilized punishment can also involve sexual problems like sexual assault or harassment or being forced into committing any acts that violates your principles or morality. In serious cases, even molestation and rape can take place. It can also mean trauma or distressing experience that you have yet to let go or forget. Do note that this occurs only in serious cases. That is when the elements are highly negative to a BaZi chart. In a self-punishment relationship, the person already knows he or she has a habit or behavioral characteristics which is negative, but yet continues to act or behave in the detrimental fashion. It goes without saying that the self-punishing behavior results in an eventual negative outcome. Basically, it is the actions or behavior of a person that he or she already knows is negative and is of harm, but continues to do so. A person who has a self-punishment relationship in the BaZi chart constantly self-sabotages himself or herself. An example would be a smoker who continues to smoke even after a doctor's warning of impending lung cancer. Another example would be a woman who knows for a fact that her husband is loyal, yet constantly tests his faithfulness to the point that he gets fed up and decides to leave her. A destruction typically relates to some sort of damaging behavior in a person's life, often brought on due to circumstances which are forced upon the persons in question. Unlike the punishment which results in consequences due to one's own actions, a destruction action is the result of circumstances which traps the person in situation that leaves him or her with no other choice. This situation that cause the person in question to act in damaging or negative ways. The effect of a destruction relationship in the earthly branches forces one up against a wall with nowhere or no one else to turn to. A destruction is typically also associated with bad habits or damaging behavior that arise out of the situations and circumstances the individual is entrapped in. Examples of such bad behaviors and vices are excessive drinking, smoking, or even drug abuse, often due to other people and the surrounding environment. If a destruction occurs in a major or yearly destiny trend, then during that period, the person can acquire a bad habit that he or she needs to get rid of in order to change for the better. But the positive change would usually happen only after the destruction period is over. A person experiencing a destruction can also find that his or her dreams are shattered, or hopes, aspirations crumble, resulting in having to start anew. As such, destruction period in one's life leads to rebuilding of the person's life engine, so to speak.